Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 New Jersey International Film Festival Q&A session with filmmakers. We've been running a series of these with the filmmakers and talk about their films so that you can get a taste of them before they're seen or get more information after you've seen the movie. And we provide links to anybody who's purchased a ticket or a festival pass to all the Q&As and intros that are provided by us and the filmmakers. And today we have a wonderful director of the film Full Circle, which is a documentary about bird conservation. And we have Anne via McCollough, who is now based in Virginia, kind of going back and forth between New York and Virginia. I think we have you in Virginia now, correct, Anne?
Yes.
Wonderful, welcome. And we have two of the festival jurors here. We have Katie Scrivani and Caroline Mabrey. They're going to be asking questions of Anne as well as myself. So let me tell you a little bit about the film. Full Circle is a film that celebrates one woman's triumph in conservation, the Great Gull Island Project, and it focuses on Helen Hays, whose 50-year quest to save two species of threatened seabirds is the focus of the documentary. And so Anne, I know that this project was many years in the making, and you can tell there's so much passion in the making of this film, but tell us how you got involved in making it.
So since 2005, I've been volunteering at the Museum of Natural History, and that means sometimes 40 hours a week or more. And I actually have an office at the museum, which I can't get into right now. But I love it. And the reason there was any bird connection is our son was very into birds as a young kid, and the collection manager knew that I'd been a teacher, and he said, "How's your handwriting?" And I said, "It's okay." So anyway, so I started writing a few labels. I thought it would be 2 hours, and here we are 15 years later. Anyway, 16 years. So anyway, Helen Hays's office in the museum is physically on the same floor as mine, down the hall. And there's another project across from her, also 50 years. And as both approached their 50-year mark, I said to both Helen and the Hudson Bay Project and Rocky and, Helen and the Great Gull Island Project and Rocky and the Hudson Bay Project, what are we gonna do for your 50th anniversary? And I was thinking we could write something. I happened to connect with an old friend from Georgetown, Ethan Firkus, who's a writer for the evening news for CBS at the local affiliate in Seattle. And he said, well, after discussing and telling him, we first started talking about the Great Gull Island Project, and he said, oh, why don't we make a film? So then we made a production company, and I got very serious, and we filmed both films at the same time, and then we edited the Gull Island film Full Circle first. And anyway, I had volunteered on both Gull Island and at the Hudson Bay Project before. So on Gull Island, I'd gone and marked nests at the end of May, beginning of June, which means you go and you put this tongue depressor and you get the number of the nest, the number of eggs, and it's kind of fun. It's like a big Easter egg hunt.
So you were one of the many volunteers that went to tag birds. Yes. And
not even to do the bands. I was just on a weekend when we were marking nests and looking how many eggs were in each nest.
Did you have to wear one of the hats with the flowers?
Oh, absolutely, because it would be not a good situation if you didn't wear a hat.
Well, the film project is to document this wonderful conservation success story that was championed by Helen. And so you get to see the history and the evolution of what has taken place in your film. By the way, the film will be taking place on June 13th, which is our closing day, which is a very prestigious site for any film in our festival. And we'll be showing a short animation as part of the package with yours called Two Little People by Jin Lee, who's from Australia. And it's a wonderful film to kind of match up with yours. But I think Katie is the perfect person to ask you questions, because a couple of summers ago, she was working at a bird sanctuary. Correct,
Where?
Katie?
It's an exotic bird sanctuary in Blairstown, New Jersey.
Nice.
Nothing like you guys do. That's amazing. But I was wondering if the project is still ongoing.
The
And
project, yes, last year because of COVID, things had to sort of shut down because of COVID. But they did have, I know David Sibley and his wife Joan Walsh went out, and Peter Payton, who's in the film, went out, Matthew Mayle a few times. The boat captain, George Main, weekly would go circle the island to make sure people hadn't landed, you know, and we're disturbing the birds, make sure things were fine. And this year, I know that several people are already set to be on the island doing certain projects, you know, because people do their own projects in addition to all of the other work as well. So I think it'll seem a little bit different. And I think some of the logistics are being worked out a bit.
Yeah.
But it's back to the usual process.
Caroline, do you want to add a question to Anne?
Yeah. After I've rewatched the movie just last night and was thinking, like, I hadn't thought about it the first time of like what is going to happen, like what happened with COVID, because obviously the project relies on like a lot of teamwork between everybody. But like,
right. Well, I mean, the nice thing is the birds weren't bothered by travel restrictions, or, you know, they could still be in their colony and all that. So I'm sure everything just went on as normal last year, and they'll come back and do the same thing. And hopefully they'll have enough people there to get, you know, a pretty good sense of what was going on. But yes, you're right. To have one lost year after 50 years of data it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we should also point out to our viewers that the bird species that we're focusing on are called terns, which I knew of. I didn't know that there are two different kinds of terns that are focused on that are at the Great Gull Island. And they were kind of booted out during the war because of there were military personnel that were stationed there, and now the project is basically using what was left by the military, correct? As
it's ruins, and I mean, really, you can still see the gun emplacements and the towers, and it's kind of cool to be there. I mean, it sort of adds to the magic and the mystery of the whole thing. And we live in what was housing.
Yeah,
No.
But it's not luxurious, right? There's no running water.
No running water. I mean, to take a shower, you basically go swimming.
Yeah.
Jump off the dock.
There is electricity, correct? I mean, or is it all generated?
It's all generator. Gotcha. So we have, and when we were filming, we actually got another generator so that we could have a computer hooked up.
Right, and have a source of electricity that way. Well, so tell us more about the project itself. It started I mean, it's really a kind of updating of Michael Mayl's film. Could you say?
Yeah, yes, and
Turnwatch, I think that's what it was called.
Yes, so Michael Mayl's first film ever. Michael Mayl is now recognized for his incredible nature photography, which we benefited from. But he is actually one of our producers as well. And his first film, Turnwatch, was his very first film. And he had been going with his brothers to Gull Island and volunteering, and he was into nature photography, and he wanted to make a film, so he did. And it's really, when you think about the technology difference between then and now, his film is absolutely incredible that he was able to get the shots he got and put it together the way it was put together. Because it was very different.
He shot in 16? He shot in 16, right? 16 millimeter film? I think that's what it looks like.
So. I know it was like all old school, like actual.
Yeah, 1976, definitely old school.
Right. So anyway, he, halfway through our project, said, oh, you know, because we had interviewed him as part of the film.
Yeah.
And he had said we could use his film. But then he approached me and he said, I think I want to work on this project with you. Can I come look at the footage? And so he came the next day, and to my house here. He only lives 2.5 hours away or so he's on the eastern shore of Virginia. And so he showed up, and we looked through like hours of footage, and halfway through the day, he's like, okay, we're doing it. This is great.
Great, because I would think, and I don't mean to hoggle the questions, but I would think that it just was nice to see him team up with you guys, since his project really was documenting in the nascent stages of this Gull Island work, because I guess it started in 1968, is that correct?
Well, Helen started going out even a little before that, but maybe 67, 66, earlier, but to stay all summer and monitor the colony, that didn't really happen until 69.
Right.
So technically then, and the museum had acquired it in the 40s, so the Linnaean Society had sort of cleared things out and hoped the birds would come back, and a few were beginning to come back, and so then they put people there on the island to monitor.
And document, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Katie, you go ahead, ask another question. You're a bird lady.
Could you explain the process of filming? Because that sounds really difficult, especially with your lack of power.
It was very difficult. Not only okay, actually, I take all that back. The first time we filmed was April 2016, and it was so easy because the birds weren't there yet. So it was just shots of the island and the people, and so much of this film is a mix. Philip Townsend did almost all. We did some of the bird stuff too, but almost all the people shots, and that community that Helen has built among the volunteers is critical to the success of her project. But it's also so amazing and so much fun, and so the first time that was no big deal. Some boat stuff, whatever, except that I broke my arm 2 days before we went to film. I broke my shoulder. Anyway, that made it a little difficult. I just had it in a sling. They hadn't done surgery until May, so I just had it in a sling and was careful. Anyway, let's see. In June, it was very, very difficult, and Philip and Ethan and I were all there. So Philip Townsend, our original cameraman who works in Seattle, and Ethan knew from his CBS affiliate. And Ethan and I were filming volunteers and the banding and the trapping, and you have to be really careful not to step on a nest. I mean, the whole time you're trying to think about what's the next shot, and you're looking, because the nests are everywhere, everywhere. So that was really hard. Plus the birds are so you've got to make sure you've got your hat on. And our cameraman, Philip, Helen really wanted us to add this to the film, but he said, these blanking birds, at some point, these blanking birds, because they broke part of his camera. And, and Helen said, we have to have, we said, Helen, we can't do it. It'll be like an R-rated movie. We can't do that. But it was, we all got used to it. It's really fascinating. You've got all these birds sort of calling, and you get into a rhythm. Within 24 hours, you're just kind of used to it.
Caroline.
Yeah, I was wondering, along those lines, how long it took to get all the footage for the film, because obviously animals are sort of unpredictable. You kind of have to wait for them to act, but also it's such a small area that they're just as you said, all over the place. You got to watch every step.
All over the place. So we filmed multiple times, and then when we on the island, let's see, 1, 2, 3 main times when we were filming volunteers and so forth, and we had to get all those different parts, courtship and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So Michael we went to South America first, did all the South America stuff, did the Azores stuff, and then Michael had looked at everything. We made a list of what natural history elements we still needed to go back and make sure we had really good shots on. And so then Michael had that list, and he went, I think, 3 times that summer and got courtship, eggs and nests before they're hatching. He got the hatching, which that sequence is great. I really love that. Then, when they're elephants, which is before they fly, Philip had done a bunch of that in the July that we were there, which was great. And then Michael did some more of the that kind of shot. And then Michael did a lot of the shots with fish, which is so great because you could really see what kind of fish the birds are eating. And it was such incredible up close, I think he shot they both shot in 4K, but in some cases it was 8K and maybe 12K.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask also about, first of all, the volunteers have to be very careful not to damage nests, but also you guys filming must have been very challenging, but also the equipment, was it covered? Were there other protections after one of them got damaged? Was there a way?
Well, I mean, it was just like a plasticky thing, some little plastic part
Right, gotcha.
that on the thing on his shoulder, whatever, that held the camera. We had little things over the cameras and so forth, but not always, because in some places when we had to go down under the rocks and stuff, it was too hard. Michael is incredible in that he builds sort of like a blind, like a makeshift blind where he can lie down and be up close near the birds, but that way the birds can do their thing without feeling like they're on camera. Yeah. And he could sit hours and wait for the shot, just hours. The patience of that man, it's incredible. So yes, that is very challenging. And then I would say all of South America and the Azores, what Philip did, both of those places was, both in Argentina, then in Brazil, and then on the trip to the Azores, incredible shots, incredible.
And the technology, you have to adapt the electricity for shooting in the various locales. So that must have been challenging as well.
Yeah, not to mention that we had a airline, some kind of strike when we were in Buenos Aires.
Oh, no.
It was complicated, but it all worked out, getting the visas and different ways to get camera equipment into other countries and then out so that it's not on the black market and
right.
that it's legit. I mean, all of that, we had to learn all of that.
Yeah, it's always a challenge because it's a completely different kind of setup, and you have to pay off people to get through.
We had to work with a film company in Argentina, which was great.
Yeah.
And then we had a lot of good film legal advice in Brazil, which was really helpful. But we also had to have drivers to take us places.
But the fact that you had connections through Helen's contacts in Brazil and Argentina.
It was great. So we had places to stay that we knew about. And it was so much fun because we went with Helen.
Yeah.
So South America with Helen, it was amazing.
Katie, go ahead.
So how close did you actually get to the birds, or like did the volunteers? Because I know birds
were releasing them, and we're holding them, and the little chicks are so cute.
I know, like I don't know. I feel like I would just form such an attachment with the elephants because they're so fuzzy and cute.
They're so cute, and they do really fun. It's like watching toddlers, It's really funny. Yeah, you totally get attached. And there's certain birds that hang out near headquarters, so you see them all the time, like the ones you pass by. So you kind of know which ones are especially aggressive. And
do you have the sound of the birds every day, and it takes a while for it to get?
It's very strange that when you go off the island not to have that sound, because you get so used to it, and it's really meditative in a wonderful way. At first it's jarring because you're not used to it, and then you just you become part of that island.
Cool. Caroline, do you have another question? We're kind of winding down on our time.
Yeah, with like the handling of the birds, do you know, like just over the years, because people have been on the island so long, if the animals have just like gotten a lot more comfortable with handling, because they seemed like fairly, I mean, birds are small, but like you were able to hold them without a lot of problems, it looked like.
I don't know that they necessarily become more comfortable, but Helen and Joe and the whole team there really has worked very hard to make sure that when they are handled, it's in a very like calm way. They have those beautiful cloth bags, which people have made over the years, all different fabrics. They have funny names for all of them. My husband's favorite one is called Bahoo. They have a whole like a series that are all bands, and they have a series that are, you know, could be anything, you know, cars or what, it could be anything. Anyway.
Very cool. Well, folks, you absolutely must see this wonderful documentary, and it will be playing on June 13th, video on demand. So the film will be available for the entire day, starting at 12:01 in the morning. So if you're a late night person on, you know, Saturday night and Sunday turns Sunday, you can start watching it. And then you get a little sleepy and you can't finish it. You can finish it the next day. You have 24 hours to finish the film once you start. If you start watching at 11:45 p.m. on Sunday, you have 24 hours to finish it, so you can finish it on Monday evening if you choose to do it that way. I wanted to just share screen and show folks how they can get tickets. So let's do that. And all right, this is the page that we have, but that's not really what I wanted to show you. We go to this because most people go to our website, which is njfilmfest.com. And when you get to the homepage, you get this page that's on our homepage. This is what the homepage looks like. You'll click on where it says New Jersey International Film Festival on the left-hand side underneath home. Then it gives you this page where it asks you to click again. Well, because we are video on demand and a virtual festival and we're not doing any live screenings, normally this page would have everything spelled out for when we were showing films, where, and all that stuff. But because we are using Eventive as our streaming platform, they're wonderful. We've used them already. This will be the third time for our various festivals, that you would click on this link, which will send you to our Eventive page, and will send you to the catalog page, which has everything spelled out for you in terms of documentary, narrative feature, animation, and so on and so forth. And so for this film, you would click on Full Circle. You could pre-order tickets right away. You get more information about Anne's film and who's participating in it. And if you didn't like that part, you could go back to the festival site, and then you can click on Schedule, which will give you everything in a kind of textual form with big pictures for all the movies. And you work your way down through the 25 films that we're screening. We got 547 films from around the world, and these are the creme de la creme. So Anne, you're in very exclusive company, and these were the films that our judges thought were the most wonderful. And not that there were a lot of films that were just as wonderful, but that did not score as high. So you can read about Anne's film this way. And so that's how you can purchase tickets. There's a festival pass, which is $75. You get to watch everything. It's a really great deal. And so I hope you will join us. I want to thank Anne, Katie, and Caroline for participating in this Zoom Q&A for the New Jersey International Film Festival. And I want to encourage you to help and support independent filmmakers. You know, everybody's been killed because of COVID, film festivals as well as filmmakers, because there's no venues to show. And, you know, we rely on your support. And so thank you so much for watching. And there'll be about 8 or 9 of these Q&As. So make sure you check out all of them. They all have something to offer. And thank you so much, Anne, for joining us. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great. And we're so excited to be part of the New Jersey International Film Festival.
Well, we love your film because we're a humanist film festival, and we want to celebrate man and woman for all the wonderful things they do for the world. And you know, there's been so much negativity out there that we're really happy to be able to provide this really wonderful story about a wonderful person and wonderful people that are doing things to make the earth a better place. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Caroline. All right, let's do this.